2019 is coming to an end, and so I really wanted to take that one last look back at the year and present a list of my top 10 favorite movies of the year. A couple of important notes before we begin. I have not seen every single film out there. I don't get paid for this, so I will simply omit whatever doesn't seem interesting to me. I just don't have the time to watch every single garbage movie, I'm sorry. It has to make me interested in one way or another. Unfortunately, I have also omitted movies because I live in Poland and they were not released theatrically, either at all or not yet. I intend to revisit those movies later on as they become available either online or in theaters, but for the time being, some of those movies are unfortunately excluded from this list. Some titles that I think would have a shot if I'd already seen them include Booksmart, Monos, Last Black Man in San Francisco, Waves, Beach Bum, Queen and Slim, Harriet, Uncut Gems, The Farewell, Little Women, Jojo Rabbit, and A Hidden Life. With that out the way, I want to say that 2019 has been a terrific year for film, much better than 2018, I think. I think last year I would struggle to come up with a solid list of 10 films, but this time around I had the opposite problem. I started thinking about this about a month ago and came up with a short list that had about 30 movies on it. Naturally, I had to cut some of them out, but it was so difficult. The top 5, I think, was rather clear to me as soon as all 5 were out, of course. And I'd say that the top 5 order represents my thoughts quite well. All the rest, all the ones below that, I would go back to the list I wrote down and just switch them around over and over again every other day. So everything below 5, I knew I needed to have it included, but the specific placement would probably differ day by day, depending on how I feel. I think this order presented in the video is as accurate as can be, but just remember that it's really close. They're all pretty close to each other. Finally, I just simply didn't have the heart to cut out some of those movies, so that I would end up with 10. And I wanted to have a top 10 because it's a nice round number and it makes for a good title. And after much deliberation, I decided I'll just keep the list as it is. So in the end, it is a top 10 list, but it actually contains 16 movies. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I don't give a shit. My video, my rules. Without further ado, here's my top 10 favorite movies of 2019.
No has sido un buen hijo, hijo mío.
¿No?
No.
¿Qué haces aquí? Tengo que hablar contigo. 32 años me ha costado reconciliarme con esta película.
Si no escribes ni ruedas, ¿qué vas a hacer?
Vivir, supongo.
At number 16, Pain and Glory, latest movie made by Pedro Almodovar, full of pastel colors, melancholy and reliving one's own past, coming to grips with mistakes but also accepting the good stuff, reaching balance, so to speak, reaching nirvana. Nostalgic when it needs to be, humorous when it wants to be, and all of that crowned with an amazing, subdued performance by Antonio Banderas. Terrific cinema.
We're the Sisters Brothers. Sisters. Like sisters.
We're looking for a man named Warm.
He stole something from our employer.
We have enough money to stop for good.
Stop what? Killing people. Yeah, right.
At number 15, The Sisters Brothers, an unexpectedly amazing western with terrific cast including Joaquin Phoenix, John C. Reilly and Jake Gyllenhaal. I feel that it flew completely under the radar because the production company absolutely botched the marketing. Nobody has heard of this film. It also had a pretty limited release, at least in Poland. I think it only played for 2 weeks or something. In any case, it's a wonderful western in its own right, but also an amazing exercise in making the villains your protagonists and really playing with the ideas and cliches of classic westerns, stretching and exploiting some of them, but subverting others. Engaging, fun, and well executed.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by.
What?
If you smile to your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow.
At number 14, Joker. 2 movies in a row with Joaquin Phoenix. In this case, he himself elevates the film by a lot. I think it would be nowhere as good without him. As it is, it becomes the least comic booky of all comic book movies of all time, instead taking a page from Scorsese's book, and like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, being a slow and deliberate character study. I think it's well crafted, chilling to see, and again, Phoenix is simply captivating in the role, which is reflected by the numbers, by the way. It had a budget of around $50 million and made over $1 billion, and it wasn't even released in China at all. I hope it will push the studios towards making more smaller, R-rated, intelligent comic book movies instead of trying to always replicate the spectacle of Avengers, but we'll see.
First sleeping arrangements get out, all of this is gone.
I just hope you realise you're choosing a life of being alone forever.
Don't you want to just sing without this ridiculous paraphernalia?
People don't pay to see Reg Light. They pay to see Elton John.
Sorry.
I know. Do you even care how much pressure I'm under?
Not really. I'll still be collecting my 20% long after you've killed yourself.
At number 13, Rocketman, a movie from which I expected almost nothing and got everything. It's in a cinematic landscape where every single music biopic is exactly the same, to the point that just last year Bohemian Rhapsody changed the actual history of Queen in order to fit those familiar beats. This one is just a breath of fresh air. It breaks the formula and it does it with flair, flame and swagger. Unbelievably entertaining, but also managing to tug on the heartstrings in the sadder moments. A wonderfully executed mix of biopic and musical. And on top of it all, Taron Egerton singing the songs himself in a performance that in a weaker year would have been an easy Oscar nomination.
Frank Sheeran. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you said right.
Under the contract, management can only fire a driver on very specific charges. So, you ever show up late?
No.
Do you have any moving violations?
No.
Do you drink on the job?
No.
You ever hit anybody?
On a job?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, then. We don't have nothing to worry about.
At number 12, The Irishman, the most expensive and prestigious movie from Netflix so far, but man, what an investment. Scorsese's latest is like that final piece of the puzzle in a career defined by making rise and fall stories about gangsters and criminals. It's a fantastic closing chapter or a look back after the years at stuff like Goodfellas and Casino. Not just for Scorsese, but the same goes for De Niro, Pesci and Pacino, all of whom are on top of their game this time around. It's a treat in every respect, and feels remarkably brisk for a 3.5-hour movie.
What can you tell us about the Lima project?
Its objective was to search for advanced extraterrestrial life. The ship disappeared approximately 16 years into the mission.
And the commander was?
He was my father, sir.
This might come as quite a shock to you. Your father was experimenting with a highly classified material that could threaten our entire solar system. All life would be destroyed. We're counting on you to find out what's happening out there.
At number 11, Ad Astra. Brad Pitt goes to space on an introspective adventure inspired by Heart of Darkness. When it came out, it was a pretty divisive movie, with some people criticizing it for slow pace, a few of the plot points seeming out of place, and over-reliance on the philosophical exploration of one's mind. But I loved it straight away. I think it's thought-provoking, intelligent, I think it looks and sounds terrific, and despite all of the seemingly melancholic character study stuff that's going on, it manages to also be hopeful and inspiring.
We just want to ask a few questions. We understand the night of his demise, the family have gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. How was it, by the way?
The party? Pre my dad's death? Oh, it was great.
At number 10, Knives Out. Modern-day murder mystery in the vein of Agatha Christie, with an absolutely stacked cast. I expected a lot from this film because of the actors and actresses involved, and got even more. It is fantastically constructed, played to perfection, and manages to keep fresh and surprising throughout its runtime, which, given the genre, I did not think possible. It is also immensely enjoyable to see all those great actors and actresses have tons of fun in their roles. And it's the movie that gave us that scene of Captain America telling people to eat shit.
Up your ass.
Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact, eat shit. How's that? Eat shit, eat shit, eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Help me to recollect.
At number 9, The Lighthouse. In terms of purely technical achievements, this one would probably be on top of the list. A black and white journey into insanity with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe stranded in a lighthouse. Shot with equipment from the 1930s, lit in a way that I haven't seen before, and acted perfectly. Best of all, it keeps you guessing all the time. What is real, what is imagined, are we going crazy, or is it just the characters? Also, it has Willem Dafoe delivering one of the best monologues in my memory, and being positively terrifying in every respect, only for it all to end with a brilliantly delivered humorous line from his counterpart. Loved it.
The Queen is an extraordinary person.
They were all staring, weren't they? I can tell even if I can't see, and I heard the word fat, and ugly.
No one but me would dare, and I did not. She's been stalked by tragedy.
Everyone leaves me. Dies.
I apologize for my appearance. I hoped I might be employed here by you. As something.
A monster for the children to play with, perhaps.
At number 8, The Favorite. Don't be surprised, it was a movie that competed at the previous Oscars, but at least in Poland it came out in 2019, so it qualifies for this year's list. In any case, it deserves to be on any list because it's the most fresh and unapologetic costume period piece I've ever seen. It's fun, it's engaging, and it is carried by 3 equally amazing performances by Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone. In my personal opinion, it is the best movie that Yorgos Lanthimos has made so far, and so I'm eagerly awaiting what he'll deliver next.
How long have you two been together?
Just over 3.5 years.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah?
What do you think? It's like another world. Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
At number 7, Midsommar. On the one hand, a psychological horror that says fuck it and decides to take place during the never-ending daytime of a Scandinavian summer festival. On the other hand, the most cathartic movie I've seen all year. It will rip away your sanity and drag you through hell, but you will come out smiling. It's also crafted with the utmost attention to detail and focus on creating a totally unique atmosphere. Very inspired filmmaking from Ari Aster, and reminder, this is only his second feature film.
Does it feel different to be up there without a rope?
It's obviously like much higher consequence.
People who know a little bit about climbing, they're like, oh, he's totally safe. And then people who really know exactly what he's doing are freaked out.
I've thought about El Cap like for years, and every year I'm like, that's really scary. I'll never be content unless I at least put in the effort. El Cap is the most impressive wall on Earth.
It's 3,200 feet of sheer granite. It's the center of the rock climbing universe.
Obviously, I get interview questions about it all the time. Oh, would you like to do that? And you're like, yes, for sure.
At number 6, Free Solo. Perhaps the single most engaging documentary that I've ever seen in my life. I saw it in a packed movie theater, and you could hear people gasp and react very loudly to what was going on, and I think it's all justified. The movie is positively gripping and properly terrifying, to the point that if you have a fear of heights, just skip it completely, just don't watch it. If you don't skip it though, you're in for a treat. It's an unbelievable story of an unbelievable man, told in a fascinating way and shot simply beautifully. It also happens to document feats of strength that are quite simply historic. Brilliant, brilliant stuff.
What I love about Nicole
She is a mother who plays, really plays.
What I love about Charlie, he loves being a dad. He loves all the things you're supposed to hate, like waking up at night.
She knows when to push me and when to leave me alone.
He never lets other people keep him from what he wants to do.
Dad, you're too far.
I know. It's not easy for her to close a cabinet.
He's incredibly neat.
She's brave.
He's brilliant. He's very competitive.
At number 5, Marriage Story. It came out on Netflix pretty recently and knocked down Free Solo by one position, but I think deservedly so. It is a masterclass of acting from Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, who, along with Ryan Gosling, has for me become the most impressive performer of his generation. This film has both Johansson and Driver on top of their games, acting out a heartbreaking script that will rip your heart out in so many ways. But amazingly so, and just as in real life, the movie also shows a more humorous side, even in situations where you would least expect it. The scene with the social services lady visiting Driver's house had me in stitches for 5 minutes solid. Overall, for such a small film, it's impressive how impactful it manages to be.
Thanos did exactly what he said he was going to do. He wiped out 50% of all living creatures.
We lost, all of us. We lost friends, we lost family, we lost a part of ourselves. This is the fight of our lives.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
At number 4, Avengers Endgame. Now, I know what you're thinking right now, that I'm a Marvel fanboy and that it's a crime against humanity to put this film so high up above all the rest I already mentioned. You're not totally wrong, but hear me out. Regardless of your feelings on the Marvel movies, Endgame did something so unprecedented. It had to bring to a conclusion a 10-year-long series of 23 movies, juggle dozens of characters, bring plots and character arcs to an end, deliver a spectacle, and do all of those things in such a way that will be satisfying, not just to casual viewers, but for the fans as well. And it did all those things. It delivered on its promises. I think for that alone, it would deserve a spot on the list, to represent the MCU as something truly historic. Think of it this way. We now look at the original Star Wars as absolute classics, and I truly believe that we'll do the same in a couple of decades with this period of Marvel films. But even taking all of that aside, even disregarding all of that, I think that movies, like all art, should be judged primarily by how much of an emotional response they can get from you. And Endgame got a hell of a response from me. I saw it opening night with a group of 10 friends in a packed theater, and it was one of the best cinema experiences of my life. I felt like a child watching their dreams come true on the screen, and I knew I was not alone in all of this. People were reacting the same way as I was. We all fell silent in shock when Thor cut off Thanos' head 15 minutes in. We all cried when Tony's message to Morgan was played at the end of the film. We all cheered when Captain America lifted Mjolnir. Hell, I almost jumped out of my seat. Thinking about that, thinking about how much joy Endgame gave me, I think it would be totally unfair not to have it as high.
Concreting, plumbing.
Is that you two?
I've done it all.
So why'd you give it up?
He's just gone from job to job.
There's always someone on your back, isn't there?
Come on, we've got time to make up. Let's go.
I'd rather work on my own now and be my own boss.
Let's just get a few things straight at the start, though, shall we?
At number 3, Sorry We Missed You. I just talked about emotional responses to films, and in terms of breaking my heart, this is the movie that was the most effective this year. I really cried on it 3 separate times. Similarly to Marriage Story, it tells a story so small, so private, that it's amazing how meaningful it can become. Or perhaps that's precisely the reason, because you're watching a tragedy unfold, and it's not a tragedy of someone in space, or someone on a different continent, or an entire nation in the history of the world. It's a tragedy of one family, of someone that could reasonably live next door to you, especially as the film is based on a true story. Monumental filmmaking, but it will ruin your day.
네가 내 대신 얘 과외 선생님 좀 해줘라, 영어.
대학생인 척하라는 거야? 넌 이 좋은 실력으로 왜 미대는 맨날 떨어지냐?
아이씨 죽을래.
서울대학교 문서 위조학과 뭐 이런 거 없나? 이 기준이에 수석이 박아야겠다.
저는 이게 위조나 범죄라고 생각하지 않아요.
참으로 시의적절하다.
At number 2, Parasite, the biggest breath of fresh air in cinema of the last 5 years or so. I went to see the film completely blind, and I maintain that this is the best way to see it, and I was completely blown away. It starts off strong, gets progressively better and better throughout the first half, and then just explodes completely. It was gripping, tense, funny, sad, scary. It had the full spectrum of emotions, and it managed to be equally good in technical terms. Fantastically shot and scored and acted out. It got very high praise from critics and audiences alike, and I think it deserved all of that and more. And you could make a really strong case for it being the best movie of 2019, period.
Seems this world got you down. You're feeling bad, bad, be so free.
Are you an actor?
No, I'm a stuntman. Girl, look at me.
So you still with Rick, huh? Still here.
You can do anything you want to him. I hired you to be an actor, Rick, not a TV cowboy. You're better than that. Line.
Cut! Embarrass yourself like that in front of all those goddamn people.
And at number 1, my favorite movie of the year is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I also know this is a controversial choice. Is it a perfect movie? No, not by a long shot. Is it the best movie of 2019? Also not. I think Parasite beats it if we're being objective, or at least try to. But the thing is this. The list is not called Best Movies of 2019. It's called My Top 10 Favorite Movies. And Hollywood has been my favorite without any questions. And it is kind of weird because right after seeing it for the first time, I wouldn't have said so. But then I thought about it a lot, went to see it again. This time I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more. Thought about it some more again, and it's grown on me so much. I found myself constantly going back in my mind to particular scenes, to particular lines, to the music, to how the film looked like. I was thinking about it fondly. And as I said, on that second view, I had an absolute blast. I just enjoyed spending time in this superbly detailed world that Tarantino has created. I do think it's one of his best works after all said and done, even though it doesn't look like it initially. And as I said, I do accept that it has flaws. It's too drawn out, it's too self-indulgent, perhaps a bit disrespectful towards Bruce Lee, but none of that matters to me. Put it this way, it's like you have a girlfriend, okay, and you introduce her to your friends, to your mates, and they pull you aside and they say, "You're mental. Why are you seeing her? Look at her. She's not that great. She's got a crooked nose and unruly hair and doesn't dress that nicely and is even snarky and sarcastic and maybe rude." And you think to yourself, yes, that's all correct and true. But you love her anyway. You love spending time with her. You love how great she makes you feel. And in the face of that, who cares about imperfections and flaws? And it's the same thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I love it. I enjoy spending time with it. It made me feel great. And that to me is the mark of a great cinema. And that is the reason why this is my favorite movie of 2019.
Hey! You're Rick fucking Dalton. Don't you forget it.
Right, I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you in the next decade.